Good morning, everyone. It's time to call our meeting to order. We appreciate everyone being here this morning. At this time, we'll ask Commissioner Phillips to lead us in the invocation and the pledge to the U.S. flag.
Thank you, Lord in heaven, for this day. Thank you for all the many blessings you blessed us with. Bless all the people here today, Lord. Be with us and guide us and direct us. Be with all of our first responders. Just put your hand on them and all of our military personnel in and out of our country, so we can have a country safe and free like we have, Lord. Just be with us, guide us, direct us, and may the board make the best decisions it can and the best it can today. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, we appreciate everyone being here. Our county attorney is tied up at this very moment, but he will be here just as soon as he can get through. Matter of fact, he's coming down the hall now.
Non-adversarial. Morning, Joe.
Morning, Joel.
Good morning.
Will there be any additions or deletions to this morning's meeting?
Yes, sir. Based on the meeting Monday night of the Regional Utility Authority, we're asking to move the discussion of the Regional Utility Authority up to action items. And they would like you to consider a task order for engineering services.
Okay. You gonna move that up under you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
All right. Are there any others on the board? I have one item that I want to add on renaming a private road. I'll do that on the commissioner's discussion. If there's no other additions or deletions, I need a motion to approve the consent, approve the agenda. Got a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Phillips, second by Mr.
Chairman, also, I have one item under, but we'll do it under commissioner discussion
Okay,
at the end
all right,
about the springs.
all right. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, that motion carries. Mr. Murphy.
Yes, Chair Board, we've got Miss Candace Kennan here today. She's the new Executive Director of Swanee Valley Transit Authority, and we just asked her to come over and where somebody could put a face with a name and mess up her morning, which she had to drive all the way to Columbia County this morning. Thanks for coming, Candace.
Thank you. It wasn't too bad on the interstate. I decided not to try 90 this morning. Good morning. My name is Candace Kennan, and as I've been asked a lot, yes, I'm the new Larry. I'm the new administrator for Swanee Valley Transit, and just a little bit of information. The Swanee Valley Transit provides paratransit transportation to the public in Columbia, Hamilton, and Swanee counties. Paratransit transportation is provided in a demand response mode, meaning that in order to use our services, you have to actually make a phone call to arrange for service. Through an interlocal agreement that forms Swanee Valley Transit, each of the three counties contribute a large revenue source based on each county's population. And we also have funding that is brought down to us from some state and federal assistance programs. Also, the Florida Transportation Disadvantage, it allows riders who qualify to receive transportation at a minimal cost. Depending on eligibility requirements, riders are required to pay a small $2 fee for each way of transportation needs, such as going to doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, picking up prescriptions, maybe going and getting a meal, something like that. I know a lot of folks think that we just do medical or special needs, but we actually do more than that. So we do take folks to pick up some groceries, or if they want to get some chicken nuggets or something like that at Wendy's, we kind of help with that too. So, but if anyone is interested in learning more about us, our phone number is 386-362-5332. And hopefully in a couple months, I'll bring y'all a presentation. I'm still trying to get my feet good and wet and know a little bit more about what all services we provide.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the record, she's not married to Todd Kenny.
No, I am not.
I told her I couldn't let her mess that. Thank you, Candace.
He wasn't supposed to bring that out.
Mr. Tompkins.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dale Tompkins. I'm a lifelong resident of Lake City, Florida. The governor has a faith and community initiative that he has been spearheading, and one of the things that that does is encourage state agencies to work with faith-based agencies. And so when Hurricane Idalia came through, there was a long-term recovery effort called Project COPE that the state does. This is a multi-county thing, so each area is kind of assigned a different nonprofit to do counseling services. This is kind of like crisis counseling, just helping people, connecting them to services that are already in the community. And as a part of that faith-based initiative, LSF Health Services reached out to Living Hope, which is a nonprofit here in Lake City, and asked them if they would be willing to handle Columbia, Suwannee, Lafayette counties. And so we said, yes, we will be happy to do that and step in. And so we have been doing that since January of this year as part of the long-term recovery for Hurricane Idalia. What that has encompassed is us going into the community, reaching out to different faith leaders, different community leaders, trying to help with the impact of Hurricane Idalia. And we've done that primarily through three things. We do community education. So you might have seen us at one of the many festivals and events that we like to have in our counties, handing out educational information, helping with anxiety, depression, learning the symptoms of trauma. So many people have been talking to us since hurricane season has started back up that anytime a storm blows in, they're ready to head to the hotel. Like they're ready to get out. And I was talking with David about this. There's a lot of tree anxiety, we call it. This storm produced a lot of down trees, down power lines, but there's a lot of dead trees that are still standing. And they know it's just a matter of time before the next storm comes through and those dead trees are going to fall, and they may fall on their houses. So we're there to try to help them, talk to them, encourage them, connect them with any resources that FEMA may have, any local programs and agencies that are available. The United Way handles the financial part. So we have to go to them and say, I can't give you money, but we can talk with you and direct them to the United Way for the financial piece of this program. So we do community education. We do school-based COPE groups. At the end of last school year, we went into the schools and we're teaching kids coping skills, just how to manage with whatever life stress. This is hurricane-based, but as we know, gun violence and different things that our kids are dealing with, they need to learn how to cope in our ever-changing world. Over the summer, we've been at Richardson, doing groups there, helping with the summer camps, trying to teach those kids how to cope. And then finally, we do community-based COPE groups. And these meet in each of our counties in person and online. And they're just support groups. So if you have constituents that you talk to and they seem agitated and bothered by storms, I just wanted to make you aware of this? I saw at the last meeting that y'all were going to have a workshop on hurricane preparedness, and I figured this would be a piece that would plug in that might be of help in the future. Because as I go around and talk with people, one of the biggest things that I'm learning is that not everybody knows what everybody else is doing. I can't tell you how many times, even this morning, that I talk to government officials or different people in the community, and they're like, I had no idea. FEMA does this after every single storm. Anytime there is a national disaster, there is also a long-term recovery mental health piece. But most people don't know that. And so we're trying to change that and get the word out. Another thing I wanted to make you aware of, and you guys have a handout of this, and if anybody's in attendance and would like to have a copy, I'll be happy to give you a flyer as well. But based on learning that people don't know what all is out there and what resources are available, we've partnered with LSF and again, the governor through this community faith initiative that he has to rent out the Blanche. And I actually just realized, guys, I brought you the wrong flyer. I apologize. I'll get you the correct one. That's the Suwannee County one that's happening this July. But ours is happening at the Blanche, September 17th. It'll be from 9 to 4 in the Blanche. Thanks to our community partners like LSF, Morels, First Federal, Steve Smith at Edward Jones, Meridian, Furniture Showplace, Circle of Life, Assisted Living Communities, Living Hope, Moe's, Chick-fil-A, Zappa, Pregnancy Care Center, and many others. This is going to be a completely free event. And what we're doing is we're asking anyone in the mental health field, whether religious or secular, to come together in one place and set up tables, let us know about your services. We were working over in Suwannee County, and I found a ministry that just pays for people to get their clothes washed, right? I never even knew such a thing existed, but there's a ministry, and that's their focus. And after Hurricane Idalia, that was huge because people didn't have a way to reliably get the clothes washed, and they didn't have the money. And so that ministry was able to get engaged. As you guys know, so many times with disasters, the church is the first on the ground and the last on the ground, right? We landed, some of our ministries landed in Grenada literally the last bands were going past Hurricane Beryl, and a cargo plane was on the ground full of resources, food, water, to help the local community through the local churches. And so I'm excited about this partnership that the governor is kind of spearheading, and excited to see where it'll go. This Uplift event will be another step for us, just letting you know what's available. And thanks to our community partners, again, all free, and we'll even buy your lunch, guys. So come on out, see us. Appreciate y'all. Do y'all have any questions?
Any question?
Dale, if you would, forward that other.
Yeah, I'll get you the correct flyer. I
Dave
apologize.
distributed it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Sounds like a good program.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. Murphy. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise, that motion carries. A motion to adopt the consent agenda
So moved.
by Mr. Ford,
Second.
second by Mr. Murphy. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, that motion carries. Kevin Kirby?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The first two items are married to each other. The first item does not require action. It's an update. The second will. So as many of y'all, including myself, we've got a lot of phone calls as it relates to what's going on in Ellisville with the current congestion at Howell Road and 41. Here's your answer to that. When we initially partnered with DOT about the massive improvements with all the development coming with Ellisville, you had, north of $25 million worth of needs on the transportation side. You had a sewer plant side. I've kind of kept you off abreast of the Band-Aid. We're going to use their sewer plant with a partnership until we can construct a sewer plant like and similar to what's out on 90 East. David and I have a meeting with our current CMAR contractor management at risk on 90 East to duplicate those images down in Ellisville. And all that puzzle's come together, but unfortunately, we've got a current problem, right? We've got congestion. So we met with DOT. Guys, we have to break this thing out in phases so we can accommodate today's needs. So basically, if B&B was not even a consideration, based on the current growth down there, there's transportation needs as we speak. today. Here's your answer. We're proposing to move forward. We've already hired our engineers. We're under design permit and the engineering right now on the relocation of Farnell grade, construction of new Farnell grade. We're moving forward immediately. I signed the task order earlier this week to move forward on what we call the quadrant road. This is inclusive of the quadrant road design, signalization inclusive of the striping, improvement to Howell Road, stormwater design, construction management of all the above. We'll prepare with FDOT's assistance the remaining project, which is to come with additional funding. They're not limited to widening, signalization, striping, stormwater, construction management of all above. So basically, phase one that we kicked off Monday working on, you're going to go south of 75, build a signalized intersection in many warehouses. You're going to construct the quadrant road through the current Farnell Farm. You're going to abandon current Farnell grade, construct new Farnell grade west towards the racetrack, and you're going to make necessary improvements at Howell Road. That will accommodate today's needs and complete phase one of ultimately 4 phases of improvements at Ellisville over a period of time. What is the caveat? And we have all the proper emails and documentation. We cannot let big businesses be issued a certificate of occupancy until the big needs are fulfilled. In lay terms, you'll see construction such as B&B happen simultaneous with phase one construction. But they understand until you complete certain benchmarks, you cannot open up something that's going to fail the interchange. They understand that, their legal team, our legal team, everybody's worked together. So in our world, you're going to see B&B going up. You're going to see all this work being done. This is all we have in simultaneous. The department's working real vigorously with us at Tallahassee, meaning the local department, to get additional funding. We will simultaneously RFQ request for qualifications for the big engineers to go out and help us with all the on ramps, off ramps, 41 improvements, what we call phase 2. Phase 3 and phase 4, I have a conceptual design of what we call a bow tie at 238. That's the Hobo Tractor Road. You have a congestion problem there. That ultimately, the final phase will be lowering the grade of 41 under 75 and the necessary improvements. Obviously, when everybody's put this kind of workforce to everything, it's all going to happen. It's just putting the puzzle together. Mr. Phillips, I know this is your district. Mr. Ford, you spend a lot of time in that neck of the woods. As I indicated for the rest of the board, I'm inundated with phone calls on a daily basis, emails. We went and installed all the signs, advisory and legal signs that we are capable of. We are inviting our partners with Southwest Georgia Oil. We're inviting our partners with B&B, our partners with FDOT, and we're all working together on this. We're very aware of what's going on. And that's why the department give us the leniency to saying, go ahead, pull the trigger on phase 1. Okay?
Yeah.
So this is an advisory comment. Next, I'm going to talk about the money, how we're going to pay for it. Assuming we say grace, or y'all say grace over that, we're off to the races, phase 1.
Question.
Okay?
I know you know, everybody knows, we have a bad problem down there with the truck. I'm wondering if there's any way that the county could provide somebody down there at bad time to help control truck drivers. The truck driver is saying bad words to a lot of people down there. So I'm just wondering, is there any way that we can help that problem?
That would be a law enforcement issue.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be, yes, but,
Or highway patrol.
so I mean, and you know, you've been down there and seen it,
Sure.
and I get called every day, and I've been down there and see it every day, so
I get plenty of calls too.
just trying to see somehow, I know the people there want me to talk, and I'm gonna talking about trying to get something done, so if you got a solution, or somebody has a solution, if we can come up with something.
My long-term solution is this, but,
Yeah.
it takes a hot minute to do that. So, if you'd ask me in a perfect world, by December, that's a perfect world.
Yeah,
In
but,
December of 25,
yeah,
phase 1, I should be well on the way to being built. I want tractors on the ground down there this coming spring. where right now, the engineers doing their thing, all the design, the permitting, all that stuff. Mr. Phillips, to answer your question, short of anything I'm missing, you're looking at a complete law enforcement issue right there.
Yeah, I know, but
Could we send a request
Sure.
to the sheriff's office to help alleviate that problem down there?
Is somebody aware of what they call peak hours?
So what's happening down there right now, guys? Oh, Southwest Georgia Oil, the S&S store. They don't have any kind of approach area for the trucks. So basically, if one truck's at the pump and one pump sitting behind that truck, anybody else trying to get into those fuel islands are lining up on Otis Howe Road and 441.
Yeah.
The other day, I got a call from that. I went down there, and they was truck traffic backed up all the way up the off ramp to the interstate, with semis blocking 441, trying to get into the S&S. Some kind of fuel they've got down there. That's what I've been told that some of these truck drivers. So we've got to alleviate that problem somehow.
So your challenge, Commissioner Ford, is this. Sunday will be 3 weeks ago. I was coming back from Newberry from a softball game. So what are peak hours? At 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, they were stacked to I-75.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you establish, I would never think a Sunday morning at 11 o'clock would be that, but it was.
No, it's not continuous every day. It's just in spurts, when they get there.
Yeah, I don't know what determines when that happens either, but I do know it's happening more and more often now. Like I say,
Mr. Chair?
Citizens are in that.
well, I don't know. I mean, obviously you got road rage when people start blocking the road. And I imagine it's from both sides, but it's, basically they had 441 blocked getting off the interstate. Coming from the, what would that be going, southbound?
Southbound, yeah.
I'll reach out to our local law enforcement and highway patrol. We'll see what we can put together. The challenge is I do not know what peak hours are.
Yeah, I know. Well,
And I do know too, of course, that when that was just a convenience store, it probably wasn't that bad, but now it's about like a truck stop.
Mhm.
And it's really a poor design for a truck stop. They have no approach.
Once again,
Right.
if B&B was not coming in the world,
Yeah.
we would have to make improvements to how and the quadrant road signalization. That's the significant change.
Mr.
Oh.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
As Kevin pointed out, this work won't be completed for at least a year and a half.
in a year and a half.
So this problem is going to continue until the construction is completed, and it is about a year and a half.
In a
That's why I'm
perfect
saying
world.
we need to look at start looking for some temporary solution. I don't know what that could be, but,
Does that?
maybe if S&S does a different approach, comes in from the other way, the trucks go out, from that way. I don't know what the answer is, but
You're talking about the one where the Wendy's is right
Yeah, correct.
they cannot continue to block the road like that. That's just got to stop.
Once again, in an effort of a partnership with the end product, we're in direct communication with all those folks. So we'll try to team up with them, but we're in a pickle.
Yeah.
If it was as easy as going and throwing a piece of asphalt down, I'd have already done that.
One would have thought when they bought that land behind them, they would have changed the approach to those pumps somehow.
Well, the problem is they've got those pumps set up on the left side is the main pump. So you got to start it from that side instead of turning around and coming the other way. You have to go around and start it and go the other.
It's a little inconvenient for the driver, but it can be done.
I would think so too, but
Yeah.
anyway, that's the problem.
Look at the inconvenience they're causing all the traffic on 41.
I agree with that.
I-75 right now.
Okay, Mr. Chair,
Can.
here's how you're gonna pay for it. The grant agreement between the Florida State Department of Commerce and Columbia County for improvements. Cost reimbursed agreement, Commerce shall pay Columbia County up to $5 million in consideration of the performance. Effective December 15th of '23, valid December 15th of '25. So I'm requesting a motion to approve and execute grant agreement number D026 in the amount of $5 million.
Motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hollingworth.
Second.
Second by Mr. Phillips. Any questions, comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign, that motion carries.
Thank you. The next is Quail Ridge paving. This is down in Commissioner Ford's district of the Swan Line and Brantford Highway. You had 5 responsive bidders. HIP Construction come in as low bid. I'm requesting a motion to bid for number 202405 to HIP Construction for total bid amount of $389,729 and to approve the agreement.
I'll make a motion, we approve, the bid for, Quail Ridge Court.
Motion by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. Phillips. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, that motion carries.
Thank y'all. The final is sign materials. This is a housekeeping issue at Public Works. As you well know, we have a sign shop, sign department. We did receive 4 bids for 6 various sections. These are the unique bids. We have to really tear the bids apart. This is for your sign materials to maintain your roadways. We're requesting a motion to approve and award 2024 to various vendors and approve service agreement.
Motion? Motion?
So moved.
Mr. Hollingworth,
Second.
second, Mr. Ford. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, that motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, David.
Good morning. I only have a few items today. First one is Florida Recovery Obligation Calculation 2024-25 opt-in. The Florida Division of Emergency Management is always working with FEMA to try and find a way to improve the process of getting reimbursed after disasters. This is their latest attempt to do that. And one of the key points of this calculation is that they're going to pre-evaluate your policies and things prior to a storm to try and make it so there's less de-obligations, less findings after a storm where they ask for your money back, less clawback. It is an opt-in program. There's really no reason for us not to opt in because even if you opt in, you don't have to do it. And again, this is, again, their new approach to trying to speed up the process of getting reimbursed after a storm. So we're asking for you to approve the opting in of 2024-25 Florida Recovery Obligation.
Motion?
So moved.
Mr. Phillips, second, Mr. Murphy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, that motion carries.
The next one is every year, Shane's budget is funded by 2 grants, one of which is the Emergency Preparedness and Assistance Grant, or EMPA. It kicks in July 1, so it doesn't follow our calendar year, it follows the state's calendar year. This year, they're giving us $105,806, which is roughly what they gave us last year. And they're just asking for you to approve it and execute the EMPA grant for next fiscal year.
Motion?
So moved.
Mr. Ford, second, Mr. Phillips. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, that motion carries.
So the next one, the legislature in House Bill 389 approved to rename I-10 from I-75 to the Alabama border for the Tuckasegee Airmen Memorial Highway. So they're asking us, under state law, to rename our section of I-10 from 75 to the Columbia County line. And there's a resolution you would need to pass.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Ford. Second, Mr. Phillips. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, that motion carries.
Finally, request for a joint special meeting, Lakeshore Hospital Authority. You asked us to get with them and set up a joint meeting. They've already went and called it because they're just had their board meeting and they had to do it within a certain number of days for their noticing requirements. It should run in the paper in the next couple of days for them. We're asking you to approve a joint meeting, special meeting on July 15th at 5:30 p.m. here in the School Administrative Complex with the Hospital Authority. They will be broadcasting it under Zoom the way they do it, and we will be broadcasting it under YouTube.
I have one comment card, Sylvester.
So And again, this was in response to us trying to decide whether the board wants to call for a referendum in November, or is there any other thing we want to do with the Hospital Authority Board? This gives you the opportunity to discuss it with them prior to making a decision at our next board meeting.
Comment?
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Chairman, Sylvester Warren. Mr. Chair and commissioners, I just don't understand the meeting nor the county interest in the authority board, governor appointed, interfering with anything with the authority board. I think that's why the governor appointed the folks on the authority board. I think that's something they got to work out. It is mighty strange to myself and many people in the community since Dale all of a sudden has become you all consulting on the authority side with the water and sewer, that now all of a sudden good old boy politics seem to be coming into play as it relates to the authority board, which Dale have worked out deals and now is trying to wiggle himself out of with FAMU and some other folks that he had myself and other people reach out to. A birthing center is coming and a lot of other projects. Here's what I would ask the commissioners to do. You don't have to listen to me. I mean, I'm more vested in that community than anybody personally and financially. I tell you this is no joke. If there's an interference with what Dale is trying to do, and everybody's aware of what Dale is doing, and what Dale's gonna have consequences for what he's doing in due time, but don't get involved. It is gonna be mayhem if something goes awry with the deals with FAMU. If FAMU do not get their deal over there, and the community has been promised that through Dale, and that pharmacy don't go in, and everything else that Dale promised don't happen, I can promise you, it would not be a pretty sight in that community as it relates to the authority board and different folks who may have tried to pull some strings behind the scene. I'm just telling you, Chairman, y'all don't have to believe me. I've never lied to you, and I never will. I don't lie to men. That's something that men mostly do to women. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve a special joint meeting with the Lake Shore Hospital Authority on June 15th at 5:30 here at the School Board Administration Office Complex.
Chairman, that's July.
I'm sorry, July. You have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. Murphy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, that motion carries. The purpose of this meeting was to get input, I guess, from the Lake Shore Hospital Authority, the board, to make them aware and comments about the discussion that this board had at our last meeting about possibly a referendum being placed on the November ballot to dissolve the Lake Shore Hospital Authority board. And since that motion, that discussion with the board at our last meeting, I think Joel? Yes, sir. I think that you need to, prior to this meeting, you could do this morning, the ramifications that this board will have before them if that authority is granted through the legislature and the property is and assets is awarded to the county, there's a dark cloud under it.
So all we can really go on with these kind of things is what's happened before in other jurisdictions where hospital authority's been dissolved. The typical process is the hospital authority gets dissolved and any assets it has in that county would go to that county. So if it was a multi-jurisdictional, they'd split it up, but generally just everything. Now, we have an expression warts and all, right? So you get it warts and all. And so in terms of real property, if any real property is encumbered by a lease, you would take that property subject to that lease. Mr. Warren indicated some deals that might have been struck and things like that. Whether or not those are reduced to writing and whether they're enforceable will be an issue that we'll have to examine. But let's say hypothetically there were written deals that related to the real estate, you'd be subject to that. Any political controversies, I know there's some issue about Meridian going into Hospital Authority, or excuse me, going to the old hospital building. You would inherit that. So, I mean, there's the policy side of it with respect to the taxing authority and what are they doing and all that kind of stuff. But then the Board of County Commissioners, and Commissioner Williams and I had this discussion yesterday, there is a downside to it. And so I think part of the joint meeting should probably focus on having those discussions with that board, right? So while you're all in the same room, hey, what are you guys experiencing in terms of political turmoil, in terms of pushback, in terms of, you know, what you see as your challenges for the next 10 years? Because if you take this, yeah, you get a big bank account, but you get a lot of real estate, and you have to be accountable for it. It is possible, I've talked to Stosh about this, if the board wanted to put certain limitations on its taking that property, we could ask the legislature when it drafts its special bill to put those qualifications in there. What those might be, we'd have to negotiate with Chuck Brannon's office and potentially with the Florida legislature itself, but it's going to be a special bill, right? And the special bill usually says the authority is dissolved, all assets and liabilities of the authority now transfer to Columbia, and that's the whole bill. But we can add things into that bill, special law, if we would like to. But again, that's one of the things that this joint meeting probably should cover is, are there any things we really don't want? You know, any problems we want to avoid? We could talk about whether or not we could get that done through the special bill. If the referendum goes on the ballot, remember it's a multi-step process. The Board of County Commissioners can put any referendum on the ballot they want. Got a power to do that. If the referendum passes, then we transmit that to our legislative delegation. They then have to carry it to Tallahassee. Okay, our lobbyists can support it, and we can write letters in support of our referendum, particularly if it passes by an overwhelming majority. But it'll ultimately be up to the Florida legislature whether or not they're going to dissolve it. It's their ultimate decision. So it's a multi-step process. It would take over a year. This is just the very beginning of it. So the joint meeting is going to be important in terms of you only have about 2 weeks after that to get the referendum on the ballot. So you're going to be making a lot of big decisions, even though it's just a joint meeting, and you know we're going to notice this is a special meeting, so we'll have an ability to take votes. Yeah, I think that's the right idea, because if we're going to go forward with it, we're going to have to move quickly. It's a resolution, so you guys can adopt it without published notice, but we'll still have to move quickly.
It's, we would be in the same situation where we really need to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's with the Swanee River water management proposal to give us the Hill property. And in the bottom line, Joel told us that anything that was against, any litigation was against that Hill property, that we would inherit it. This is the same, it's no different than what this would be.
The other thing to remember is, as Joel said, it would be at least a year before this became effective, July of next year. The hospital authority may make numerous decisions between then and now that would affect ultimately what would come to the county if this is successful.
But ultimately, this is taking it to a referendum, and it's up to the legislature whether or not they're going to take it or roll with it.
Correct.
And at the end of that, then, you're talking about a 2-year process if everything ran, year and a half process minimum. Because there's a lot of legal stuff and this is not a move to acquire real estate. This is a move to face the fact that although they're not being taxed at this certain time, there's $20-odd million that they're servicing theoretically 10 people. I mean, less than 20 people, I'll say that. So that's what the constituents are fed up with. It's a process. And, we've had the the requests over the last 5 years, let's do this, this is not why we're doing it for a couple people barking out. It's just the fact that this thing has with the Affordable Health Care Act and everything, this is a totally different picture compared to what it was when it was established back in the late 50s. And it's time, we used to ride wagons to meetings like this, now we drive cars, so times change.
Yeah, my whole point and my comment was, we need to make sure we listen to our attorneys and we know what we're getting into.
So Joe, you're going to dig in this as deep as you can, and that'll be part of our meeting with them to say, hey, is there anything you're not telling us or anything? Because,
Mr. Kennon and I will coordinate to make sure that, the issues that need to be discussed are brought, right? So we'll help work with staff to put the agenda together. Your opportunity as a board, assembled, will have an opportunity to directly address that board assembled, right? So it's a unique opportunity. And again, the timing constraints here are such, Supervisor Brown is going to be trying to put her November ballot together. And I think she gave us a deadline like first week of August.
Mhm.
And so if we have that joint meeting on the 15th, and if it's the inclination of the board, hey, you know what, put it on the ballot.
Sure.
We then we're charged with doing something pretty quick, which we can. I'm not saying we can't do it, but you won't have too many opportunities after the 15th to talk about it.
and if they So both if do you it, meet the 15th, your next meeting is the 18th.
Right.
Just a couple days later.
And we all know it's gonna happen if we go on referendum.
Sure.
It's gonna be, a resolve.
Mhm.
And we know that once it get to Tallahassee, if that's what the will of the people of Columbia County want, then our legislative delegation is going to pass that. And they'll work hard to pass it. So the whole thing is that we know what the outcome gonna be, but we wanna make sure that we is ready to accept what comes with the outcome of it.
Correct.
It's just that simple.
Chairman, I think one of the most important things to remember though is what Joe and David said. Whatever happens between that time and now, if we take it with that in place. I mean, if they make an agreement for real estate or purchase or whatever, we'll take it with that in place.
Now it would be possible to negotiate during that joint meeting with that board for an interlocal agreement. We can do interlocal agreements where they say, look, until this is resolved,
no
we're gonna maintain
decisions,
status quo.
no major decisions or anything done.
It'd be
I
up
think
to
we
them.
could do that.
It'd be up to them to agree to that, though.
Right.
Just make sure it's clear they have their authority. But I can discuss that with Mr. Kennon if that's something that we want to put on that agenda.
Okay.
Did we have a vote?
Okay,
You have not voted.
all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign, that motion carries.
Thank you very much. The next item is stormwater maintenance on North Florida Mega Industrial Parkway. We received legislative funding to build North Florida Mega Industrial Parkway. This is the green line to where it ends. As part of that, there's going to have to be a stormwater retention facility, which is the area at the very end, and the ditches that go to it, with temporary construction easements and that sort of stuff. So typically on roads we do build retention ponds and we maintain them. However, with this park, North Florida Mega Industrial Parkway, there's a lot of retention ponds, a lot of facilities that may or may not be tied directly to specific public infrastructure needs. And we just wanted to discuss with the board, long-term, if we assume the maintenance, there's going to be costs to that. As Kevin pointed out, you probably end up at some point having an entire crew just for this parkway, just for this park. And we just want to make sure the board was aware of that and gave us direction moving forward on how you want to handle the maintenance of these infrastructure and stormwater facilities. Did I miss anything, Kevin?
Here is, the big picture. Stormwater maintenance. This board will probably be asked by David and staff to do a special taxing district for that whole area.
Mhm.
A special taxing district, that would mean that, we adopt that, a special taxing district to generate funds to stormwater maintenance. Now, there will be some that would be county maintenance, but there will be some that will belong to the individual that developed the property and moved the business in. Now, Kevin have a great concern about what this could lead to, and he's looking into the future about it. So, Kevin?
Yes, sir. So I think David hit the nail on the head. When we go out and do a dirt to pave conversion, obviously, unless you're in a dusty road permit, maintain the same alignment, that triggers the permit to build retention ponds. We all know that we build roads, we build the ponds, then we have to tend to the roads and the ponds. We all know that. The intermodal park is a unique individual. You have to build the road to have the business. You have to have the pond to have the road. Then you have this creature called a railroad track. So when we first bumped into what could be potential issues, it's just growing pains, we were obligated to construct a rail. Well, we were about 50% through the construction of the rail, and one day the rail went underwater. Oh my Lord, what have we got going on here? At that time, we were not obligated to build the pond, but what we learned, unless somebody built the pond, you could not build the rail. So it's the chicken and egg theory. The purpose of this agenda item, I'll take responsibility for it, was when folks started requesting me altercations to a new pond. And I said, wait a minute now, we're not shortcutting construction or capital projects to be a maintenance problem later on. Furthermore, why are you even asking me about the pond? So then there was conversations about, in my opinion, gentlemen's agreements from many, many years ago. So what's in front of you today is we understand when we build a road, we are responsible for the pond that goes with the road. The question is, you got 2,000 acres out there. Are we going to obligate our finances and our manpower to accommodate the needs of the ponds unassociated with the roads? What will that look at? Now, Mr. Chair, you indicated the MSTU, which is obviously, but that's a pond development. So the purpose of the agenda item is, let's get our mind around, and I'll use the ball fields for the easiest example. Back in the day, you had a couple guys attending to the ball fields. Today, you got a red iron building, a full crew of men. Clint keeps obligated folks out there with equipment and manpower. Depending on the direction the board goes in 2024, will dictate what that looks like in a decade out there. Is it a red iron building with a bunch of equipment, a bunch of men, a bunch of trucks? Will the development allow the MSTU to cover that cost? That's your questions. But right now, we do not have clear direction of whose is what, if you may.
So your original agreement with Weyerhaeuser was with Plum Creek. It was done over 10 years ago, probably over 12, 13 years ago. And it said we would build infrastructure as grant money was available. It didn't commit any resources beyond that. It didn't really address the maintenance. And like Kevin said, now we're talking about retention ponds that aren't just for public facilities, but also serve industries as well. The board really hasn't given clear direction on what we want to take and what we don't want to take. As Commissioner Williams pointed out, you did adopt a taxing district. You can't levy a tax until next year. So there's no levying this year. Next year, you'll be able to levy that tax. So you have that tool in your tool belt, but that still doesn't answer the question on these large retention ponds and infrastructure that are more than just public infrastructure. How do you want to handle it?
So reading the backup material, basically it says that Weyerhaeuser wants us to go into a maintenance agreement on this, correct?
Well, they're assuming that they would give us the land and it would be ours and we would maintain it for the road. And we have no problem with that because that's typically what we would do with the road.
But I'm pretty
This is
sure
more about that big retention pond by AgriLiquid and long-term who would maintain it.
David, wouldn't the MSTU, couldn't we make it where it covers that part too?
You could.
Okay, what if you only
That would be
have,
the logical answer to
sorry.
that, just looking at it.
Because it's their land, it's them using it, and they're paying the MSTU.
Let Mr. Ford continue
Yeah.
before the cutting on it.
sorry about
Go
that.
ahead,
Go ahead, Rocky.
Rocky.
I'm just saying, that would be the logical answer to me with the MSTU, to make it cover the retention ponds also, the maintenance of the retention ponds.
Well, I guess the reason we're looking at it a little differently is that particular retention pond services private industry as well as public infrastructure.
But the private industry that's there would be paying the taxes for this MSTU, but
That is correct.
Mr. Murphy?
But you've never authorized us to maintain retention ponds for private industry.
Mr. Murphy?
Okay, just clarification, the MSTU, you're saying you can develop it in such a way that that tax will maintain this particular pond.
That's your
I
call.
think that's what Rocky just
So
said.
if you remember when Heather was here last week, talking about an MSTU for law enforcement, you're establishing a taxing district, which you've already done, of just the industrial park. You can levy up to 10 mills in that taxing district,
Okay,
and every property in that district would pay the mills. It's a tax, it's a levy. You have to levy it every year
okay, do we start taxing this new fertilizer project in Warehouser next year?
if you levy a tax.
All the land that the Warehouser's got in this, they've agreed to pay an MSTU on this,
It's not for them to agree.
they don't have to.
They don't have to.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
That's the
just like
problem
any
here.
other
We
tax.
got Warehouser putting another few million on us to take care of.
no,
Well,
tax
I understand, but that MSTU is gonna be paid by one person right now.
Well,
No,
they're
you
paying
pay on
also.
the land.
They have the
It's
land.
out there.
You can put it on
Yeah.
Warehouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is just like the property taxes in Columbia County. When you levy the tax, unless it's exempted, all properties pay it.
So we can put it on empty property that doesn't have any development on it.
It's on, property's on.
I know it's owned by Warehouser, but what I'm saying is, so Warehouser is willing to pay.
It's not
I've never asked them. I don't know.
It's not willing, they're willing to.
Yeah, all right.
I didn't make this original deals 10 years ago, so I'm making sure I'm like this about.
I think there's only one person that was here 10 years ago.
Chairman, if I can, so here's my thoughts on this. We do it through the MSTU right now.
Mhm.
Now, when the park gets full, we could always negotiate something different with the businesses out there later if they wanted to maintain it. But we all know the problem with self-maintenance is it gets done when there's a problem usually. Where if the county keeps doing it, it'll be, it's easier to fix a small problem when it comes up than it is to wait till a tragedy happens and then try to repair it. That's something we can look at it, but right now, the logical solution would be to do it through the MSTU, it looks like to me, and the county do a tax to maintain it, where the property owner's done it.
Link, go back to the picture, please.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
But Holloway, yes,
It almost seems, what Rocky's saying seems like would have been matter of course and already policy to me. I mean, that is the normal. We're not gonna tax the people of Columbia County for that. We gotta tax the people that are using it and making the money off of it.
yeah.
And we've already approved the MSTU.
The MSTU's already there,
Right.
but I didn't know that you could do it. I didn't know if, Warehouser's are gonna do it on the empty property, so.
All right,
Okay.
but
Chair, is there do you have the makeup as what this MSTU is gonna generate?
We do not at this point.
Okay,
A
so.
lot would depend on, what I'll do is I'll get with the property appraiser and ask him, how much will 1 mill generate on the property as it stands today?
I think we need to look at the numbers and what have you,
Well,
and on the construction of this pond, who's constructing it?
That's part of the grant that you received from the legislature last year.
Gotcha, okay.
Mr. Kirby, you could put a price on the maintenance of what this is gonna cost each year, right? Pretty close?
Yes, sir, you can.
But if I could, Chair, I think when we go down this road, we need to really explore something here. And the point is that, you got MSTU supporting the future, but I don't think this is something that we can generate in-house. I personally think that this entity, divided the cost of everybody that's developing there, this should be farmed out to private enterprise. because me and Kevin had a discussion about this and several other things. We've seen when the county took over Clint, we'll say South Side, look what it's evolved to. And correct me if I'm wrong, Clint, you could probably use help right out the, could we keep, and we're fixing to do 500 acres that we're not going to be able to MSTU. So, I mean, this needs to, I'm not willing to agree to nothing right now myself unless I want to see the numbers, but I think this is a perfect opportunity for more economic growth to send this out for maintenance within a program of, because every single person that puts a shovel in the dirt out here is going to want a tax break. You know that, and I know that. So we can't cut our feet out, because it's going to be the way it's going to happen. But we got a lot of numbers to look at. But is this pond going to be constructed at this phase as the way we see it? Is this a full pond design for what we're talking about here?
So I want to point out two things and I'll stand down. What brought this up was two things. One was we like to have access to all of our ponds so we can get heavy equipment in there to maintain it. We've learned from sins of the past, if you cannot get to it, that's problematic. So when we were negotiating what the pond should look like and all that good stuff, this is through Warehouse's engineers. Wait a minute now, let's make sure we do the X, Y, and Z. And they were like, well, let's do an open swell. Just try to save money, which everybody does. I said, fellas, we're saving a penny, gonna cost $1 later on. And that's where the debate, if you may, got started. That's one point, but yes, sir, this is the conceptual design. The second side of this thing is I want to refresh your memory about the railroad track. This is really stuck in my head. We were out there constructing the railroad track. The railroad went underwater. I was concerned we had a design bust. You shouldn't have a railroad track going underwater. Well, then, once we figured out the reason the railroad track went underwater is that we were under no obligation at the time to construct the pond that was conceptual at that time. If you did not construct the pond, you could not construct the railroad. So from that experience, I've learned if we don't have ironclad agreements, it can get gray area real quick.
And the reason it's gray is because while it takes drainage from the railroad tracks, which would be public infrastructure, it also takes drainage from the companies that would be in those lots surrounding the railroad track in that area. So it's taking drainage from a lot more than just the public infrastructure. It's taking it from private companies as well. So it's a shared responsibility type
But
situation.
private companies would also have their own retention ponds on site also.
I think they're planning to use this retention pond.
All of them are planning to use this retention.
Yes.
Is it gonna be big enough for all that?
It's a big retention
Is
pond.
it? Okay. So Kevin, I agree with Commissioner Murphy. I think this probably should be farmed out. The maintenance or the mowing especially. I don't know about all the maintenance, but the mowing. Y'all can bring that recommendation back to us. I mean, y'all. But the MSTU should be levied in a way that it would cover the maintenance on this pond.
In theory, yes, sir, you're right, Commissioner Ford. It should.
Yeah.
I'm hung up on my experience with all these ponds.
With the baseball fields. Yeah.
I see what's coming.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, way back in the day, Commissioner Williams, you remember this, we used to take roads, we didn't take ponds or subdivisions, so forth and so on, and it's a hot mess out there. Well, at the end of the day, we solved that with the MSBU recently. So your new Forest Cove subdivision. So in theory, they pay the fee, we escrow the money. When it gets time to do all that, we have the money, just like the MSTU. Here's the difference, in my opinion. The Forest Cove, they go out their engineer design permit, and within 7 or 8 months, you got a job.
Yeah.
This has went on for 13 years. And I'm trying in my mind to get around, all right, you've got 1 or 2 rooftops, hopefully get 100 rooftops, but you got these ponds, as David indicated, it's for joint use. It's not only for the road, it's for the railroad, or it's for the business. So whose is what? And in theory, the MSTU will capture that. And I'm just worried about the in-between time, to be quite frank with you.
Well, I know even privately, this is done in other areas where multiple companies pay into a company to maintain retention ponds. The first exit at Gainesville where the Harley Davidson shop is. You know, that big retention pond right there, it services every business around that area, and each business pays a monthly rate to be able to use that pond and to maintain that pond to the owner of that pond, that retention pond. So, you know, it might be something where you could work out an agreement temporarily where they just pay a monthly fee for space until we get the MSTU in place. I don't know how that works. Joe might know more about that. I know it's done privately, but I don't know if it can be done as a municipality or not.
I have to look into it a little more.
Yeah.
But I understand completely, we don't want to get hung out to dry and then, you know, something, you know, we have to do more than we thought we had to do, just like at the baseball field.
Well, the MSTU covers us, is what it does.
Yeah.
And the millage rate, and we can raise the millage rate if the need come for additional funds needed.
Right. But Commissioner Murphy brought up a good point about the taxing. You know, a lot of these businesses, when they come into the county, they want tax breaks and stuff like that. We've got to be careful.
But-
When we give those incentives, to make sure we cover ourselves on the maintenance for these ponds.
And
I don't see where this board or any future board should give a tax incentive on the MSTU.
And just to point out, we generally only do, or we're pretty much limited to our ad valorem assessment. So these MSTUs, because they're based on acreage and linear feet, pretty much can attach, right? So I can't say that it's, you know, lead pipe lock, but it's as close as you're going to get. If you move into the NFMIP, you're going to be expected to help fund the maintenance. And so you'll have restricted funds. You'll know what those funds are going to be every year. It can be adjusted year to year. So as you get more people out there to share the cost, you might actually see that that rate go down. Right. And so it's going to be fluid. It's a new thing that we're trying. We're trying to make this thing self-sustaining. I think Mr. Kirby's exactly right. But you got to get on top of it before the first, you know, person's out there paying this tax. It's doable. But as Mr. Kirby indicates, it just has to be paid close attention.
And it's the in-between time, like he said. It's from when we just got one business out there and we got 200.
That's right.
Once you got 100 out there, you got to go. You can, you know.
Well,
We just
you know,
wanted-
whenever the makeup takes place, I guess the biggest thing, and it seems like a small problem, but then again, this can be, you know, evolve into a lot. But, you know, I can't even get Swanee River Water Management to enforce their own permit to the Dollar Generals, you know? And so you see what I'm saying? And you know as well as I do, they're going to be involved in this too. So it's got to be a lot of clarity because, you know, I can only speak for one project that I'm personally involved in at the Walmarts. And you know, they spend a lot of money on their retention ponds every year. And, but they spend, I mean, it's a big nut. And this is a real big nut, you know? And
I don't call that a mess. I call that progress.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just planned properly. As long as we go into it, planning it properly.
So we just need.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. What's the wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion that we approve it. And, like I say, at the same time, we just need to make sure that, you know, at the end of the day, Joel and y'all are gonna have to figure out the contract. So, I'll make a motion. I mean, we definitely can't stop right now. I mean, we gotta build this road. We gotta build this pond.
Yeah.
You know, I make a motion, we move forward.
I got a motion by Mr. Ford. Second by Mr. Phillips. Any other discussion?
Yes, sir. One question, David, Joe, Bill, question. What does this obligate us to? I mean, at this point, there's no, I mean, they're saying we maintain it.
So at this point, this particular piece is just for the parkway. But we wanted to talk about the bigger issue of these joint retention ponds. So we had a direction which to go. And that would, each one has to have their own ERPs and their own applications.
So what you're voting to approve is signing the O&M obligation on the ERP. So if everything fell away, if the MSTU didn't go through, if Weyerhaeuser said they weren't going, we would ultimately be on the hook. And so Commissioner Murphy's correct in that, and Mr. Kirby's correct in that. And yes, it's just an initial step, but it's an initial step that if you take it and everything else falls away, you're obligated. Probably be obligated anyway, since we're going to go ahead and construct these things, but that, just to understand what you're doing, that's what you're doing. You're signing that last page of the ERP that obligates you perpetually to take care of these ponds, no matter what else happens.
But at this time, we don't see any issue with the MSTU.
We don't at this time. That's correct. Just for clarity, I just make sure that's clear.
And for this particular one, it's only the pond tied to the road, which we would have done anyway.
Right.
But we wanted to address the bigger
You're just
issue.
addressing the future of the other thing.
Right, so that
This
Kevin and
road-
I both know which direction the board wants us to go.
Okay, so this restricts us to the drawing there, so.
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
It's right here.
Approving North Florida Mega Industrial Park, Parkway for stormwater maintenance.
Look here.
Authorizing.
You don't do that,
staff to
Stu, now, you know I don't allow that. Oh,
He's not. He's talking to the clerk.
Yeah, I was just showing her the motion.
No, I was talking to Mr. Looker.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, yeah.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, that motion carries.
So I have one last item, which is from the additions. It was the update on the North Florida Water Utilities Authority update. Specifically, they met Monday, and of course, the two commissioners can talk about what happened at the meeting. But in the course of this meeting, they would like Columbia County and/or Suwannee County to enter into a task order with North Florida Professional Services for somebody to help them get set up and organized. And the task order, I believe, was attached to your addendum.
So what this is about really is, right now, we can't spend money. We don't have the authority, we don't have an account set up, anything. And we're in the process of setting up all the rules and regulations in the committee. We have money now because we done 100,000 in Suwannee County. But Jay don't have the account set up yet with the checks, and so we have, as a board, we have to agree to, basically pay North Florida Professional Services for their services for Dale to set up everything about the utility as far as the, billing process and getting us legal as a committee. And, so right now it would be up to Columbia County to pay North Florida Professional Service. And we would be reimbursing Columbia County back or taking out of our proceeds that we fund the utility at some point to pay it back. So until we get set up where we can spend money and write checks and do invoices, we're just asking the board to approve that the county will pay North Florida right now.
what's the time sensitivity?
Until somebody signs the task order, there is nobody to do the job. And the goal was to have the services provided in the first 3 months, and then it would end.
So we're only looking at, this process taking about 3 months. So hopefully when the new fiscal year starts, we'll be set up and operating as a board.
So their goal is, once they can hire an executive director on staff, then they would have no need for this contract.
Just like I say, it's growing pains that you got everything. This board is just basically like the Board of County Commissioners. You have to have everything in place to be legal when you pay bills, oversight, and we don't have all that set up yet. Jay has agreed to do it. We've appointed Jay to that position. And, like I say, it's just gonna take a month or so to get it.
Because
In
they're not gonna
place.
reimburse us.
And in that meantime, we need to approve this contract with North Florida's so they can work to get all of this in place, help us get all of this in place.
And the Suwannee County clerk have yield to Jay.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, you've committed 100,000. They've committed 100,000. So we could reduce it from the amount of money that we pay them at the end of the day and use that money to pay this. Because they did say they would reimburse the county.
I don't have that information with me, but I believe it was, what was it, $23,000 a month that North
21,
Florida is charging to,
21,350.
21,350. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so basically, we can't approve it right now as the North Florida Water Utility Board.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any, a bank account or anything. We don't have everything in place so we can actually spend money.
They don't even have purchasing policies yet.
Right. We don't have purchasing power.
From an accounting standpoint, if you've already set aside $100,000 to contribute to the utility authority, and you're going to have to make these payments pursuant to your continuing contract with North Florida, which is another thing, you're saving North Florida Utility Authority from having to go through a procurement, which they can't do yet. It seems to make a lot more sense to just use that $100,000 to pay this obligation, and then whatever the balance remaining is, the 30 some odd $1,000, then you transfer it to North Florida, and that way you're not incurring an additional 60 some odd $1,000.
Yeah.
So, and the money I confirmed with David, money hasn't been, the checks haven't been cut, no money's been moved around, so it's sitting there, you've already approved it, you could just apply that to this obligation.
There's a motion to do so.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
I got a motion by Mr. Ford.
If you need to read that motion, that's.
The motion would be that the county would agree to pay North Florida professional services to what?
Out of the 100,000.
Out of the $100,000, yes.
I got a motion.
Second.
Got a second? All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, that motion carries. Okay, commissioners, comment? Mr. Ford?
Yeah, I have one. At the last meeting, we were discussing Rum Island and about law enforcement presence at Labor Day during Memorial, 4th of July. And, anyway, since that meeting, which I was kind of surprised at the meeting that we had to pay law enforcement to work our springs, the county property. But, in the meantime, I was informed that over in Suwannee County, what they do in the summer is their school resource officers, they put them at the springs because most of the schools are closed. And I confirmed this with the undersheriff over there, Mr. Williams, talked to him. And he said, yeah, that is the fact. We don't charge the county any money. We have several law enforcement officers that work at the schools during when school's in, that we can put at the springs in the summertime because most of the schools are closed in the summer. And that helps them get their 40 hours in, and it's a productive 40 hours for the deputies because they're actually working the springs for the county and helping that, helping that out during your times when you have most people down there. And, summertime is when you're going to have trouble at the springs. So I think we need to have staff reach out to our sheriff and see if he can commit some school resource officers to Rum Island during this time without charging the county for this service. I mean, it's obviously done in other counties. It's something we should be able to do here too.
Commissioner Ford, I told you, I was working at me and Ricky Philpott and the crew, ran into Barry Rawson last Friday at the, a gathering, I think you called it, Branford. Yeah, you may have talked to him, I don't know, but anyway.
I talked to Mr. Buddy Williams.
Okay. They were there eating because there was such a rainstorm. They had to leave the spring. I asked them, I said, what y'all do? I ain't seen Barry in a while, but that was kind of ironic. And so it's kind of neat how it all kind of works together. But, they were there coming out of the rain, three of the officers, and they did exactly what you just alluded to. They make up their 80. I think they get paid. I think one of them told me, I guess it's bi-weekly, 80 hours or something like that there. It's a good idea.
So David, could you reach out to the sheriff and see if that's a possibility?
Yes, sir.
We don't need a motion or anything on that.
No.
Discussion, so, yeah.
Are you done?
Well, he had something, you got agenda item?
No, I thought you said.
No, not agenda item.
All right, well, we're gonna go to, public comments. He had agenda, he wanted to
Oh,
say
okay.
something on agenda. Public comments, 3-minute public comments.
Yeah, my name is Conrad Wallace. I appreciate you recognizing me. I'm gonna make this quick, which I should have been going 30 minutes ago. You gonna start the clock already? First of all, I had did a public records request, Dave, and you told me I couldn't get it. Did you get a chance to look at it, Dave?
I have not.
Okay. Also, I'm just gonna move on forward because I really have to go. My concern is about the Richardson Community Center out there. From my understanding, people are getting paid for doing volunteering work. Are y'all aware of that? Maybe that's something you want to look into. I've heard they're getting paid as much as $3,000 because they threatened to quit. They have their meetings out there and the public are not invited to come to their meetings. Why? If you're giving them taxpayers' money or the city's giving them taxpayers' money, why are they holding meetings behind locked doors and not letting the public in to see? They had a job interview out there a few weeks ago, 2 ladies and a man. The 2 ladies, both of them together, had a bookload of degrees. The guy, from my understanding, is cutting hair, but he gets the job. He had the job before he even had the interview, from what I was told. You got a board member out there that curses out the director in front of kids, okay? They had a meeting to see what they were gonna do with him. They put this guy on a darn probation. How you gonna put somebody on probation for cursing out someone in the presence of kids? They make this thing up about it's all about kids, but they want to curse these people out in front of kids. I'm in a hurry, y'all. I just got to go. But I just think this is something that need to be looked into. If y'all interested in getting another board to run Richardson, I got the people to do it. That what we got out there right now is a piece of crap. They're working behind. They're stabbing each other in the back. They're no good out there, man. They're not making us, when I'm saying us, the public, look good at all. It's something that has to be done. David, about a year ago, you had one of these. Did you get a chance to read it?
I have.
Well, maybe discuss it with the rest of your staff up here. I really appreciate your time. I had a lot more to go. I'm in trouble. I got to go. Thank you. It's something worth looking into now.
Anyone else?
One last question. Is there,
Come back to the mic. Come back to the mic. Podium, please.
do y'all have a position up here for a second county manager? Is there a second position for that?
Assistant,
Assistant, yes.
Kevin Kirby is the assistant.
He's assistant, but is it 2 or is it just 1?
Just one.
No.
Just 1. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, any other public comments? Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's nice to be here this morning. Stu Welker, Columbia County Observer. I live in the south end of Columbia County, 6.3 miles from the thriving metropolis of Fort White. I got a question about Rum Island. Rum Island was brought up today. The last time I had a discussion at this county commission, you were looking to give this park back to the federal government. I was just wondering if that's off the table now? There was discussion about getting rid of the park. I heard it with my own ears. So I was just wondering if that's off the table.
Hold on one second, let me, well, go ahead and we'll get you 3 minutes. I don't want to take you 3 minutes.
Bayfield mitigation, Houston mitigation credits. Months ago, there was supposed to be a report to the public on that. You folks, well, nobody would, only Commissioner Williams would remember when that was approved by the county commission, $1.5 million in cash. The county can't use the credits. The county could really never use the credits. That was supposed to be updated. Those are public funds. Your primary responsibility is fiduciary to the citizens and the taxpayers of Columbia County. You're going to give an update. When is that update going to happen? So that's two questions, Rhode Island and Bayfield. The final thing is just an observation. That conference room that you have by the supervisor elections, I will send you the audio that I clipped out, that it took me 2 hours to get around with yesterday, is the worst. Unless you stand on a table, because the microphones are in the ceiling, nobody else does that. I'm sure you guys could find somebody if you looked. You can't hear anybody. I would suggest you listen to Mr. Swisher, the clerk of the courts. You could hear him because he was standing up. When Leroy Marshall from the Water Management District made a presentation, I don't know, a few months ago, maybe 6 months, he was standing up. You could hear him because obviously if you stand up, you get closer to the microphones. So unless you guys stand on the tables, you can't hear what's going on. Plus, because of the electronics, I guess, in the microphones, there's always a delay, and I will send you the transcript. I have some of those transcribed, and it's impossible. You guys are talking over each other in violation of the policies approved by this board all the time. You've done it today. The rule is you need to be recognized by the chair. Happened maybe twice this morning. County attorney should really be paying attention to that and set an example. He's also elected. And it's just a mess. And I would hope that you guys would do something about that because the public deserves better than those kinds of services that you are providing now. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That was 2 questions, Rhode Island and Bayfield. Get out of here.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Give your name to the clerk, Lisa.
Up in the microphone.
Yes, I'm here this morning and concerned of Swanee Valley Utilities. I spoke with Mr. Hollingsworth. I've been living in Countrydale Estates for 24 years. I've dealt with Espenship on this water issue. We came in here a few years back. Mr. Williams, remember with Espenship, they raised their water rate to fix all the problems. They never did it. They sold out to this new company. I don't know who they are. The problem, my water meter has not worked in 2 years. Every 3 months, I get an overage bill. I have to call these people, argue with these people that I'm not paying this overage. They said they're basing our water system on a computer analyst. How they're doing that, I don't know. In my home, it's just me and my wife. My neighbor has 7 people living in their home. The young man across the street from us does not even have a meter. And they just recently charged him $600. He's young, new homeowner. He paid it. He didn't know any better. Our roads are tore up. They come, they fix leaks. They just fill the hole up. What do? It sinks. And they said they were going to repave the road. And their other property off of 252, nothing's happening. They're just causing a mess and we can't get anything done. And I've spoken to Mr. Hollingsworth about it what do we do to get this problem solved?
This is just to let you know, this is a different neighborhood than what we've dealt with. Or Mr. Kirby, I told you, we spent, what, 80-something $1,000 fixing those roads. Now he's cutting up theirs, which is not as extensive damage there. But anything, he called me and I like having him come up here because it's just more things on the record that this fellow's doing. I mean, there's no limit to what he will do with his business to these folks. I mean, he'll charge them what he figures he charge them. They have proof. They take pictures of their bills every month and their meter, and the meter won't even move. And then they'll get an upcharge and the meter's not even moving when they're looking at it. They're telling me,
Right.
You know, I mean, some people don't even have a meter. They'll have a $30 bill one month and a $600 the next. It's just, I'm just letting y'all know how rampant this problem is. And this is you're off Turner Road, aren't you?
Brown Road.
Brown Road toward Turner.
Scott Glenn.
Yeah. So it's Scott Glenn right there. So it's just, and I know we're in the process of doing the Public Service Commission. Is there any update on that at all?
They've accepted jurisdiction.
They've accepted jurisdiction.
Yeah, it is their
So
jurisdiction.
can we get, this is what I want to do if we can. I want to get the number and what we do, and I want to go out there and give it to those people in those neighborhoods so that they have who they need to call when there's a problem like he's having right now.
But what I want to clear is when all of this takes place, like the Espin ships did, not to raise our water bill to cover their expense.
Yeah.
Because they were in agreement to fix this, and they've told me I'm on a list to get my meter fixed, but they said there's no timeline.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know how long this could take.
They have to ask us to raise rates, correct?
They always have historically. They do rate studies.
Right.
So if you want to do a rate, as Mr. Johnson's indicating, you have to come forward with evidence, and there's a rate study that's
Right.
done. And I believe for this utility, wasn't this done? when we still
They have to
lived?
get permission from
Yeah,
us
it
to
was part
raise
of
rates.
Woodborough.
Well, I'm saying they're going to try to raise them to cover their cost.
No, I understand. So there was actually a hearing before a committee about the initial raise that was done by Espenship when they still owned
Right.
it. And that was a substantial increase, and they brought in their financials and everything. And I think that's what you're talking
But
about.
they never improved anything.
Yeah, no, I'm understanding what you're saying. And then the subsequent owners have gotten the annual index adjustment that is approved by this board. There hasn't been another rate study. Commissioner Hosworth will get you, and happy to provide it to you too, Mr. Johnson, the contact info for the PSC to make complaints. Part of the reason the board transferred jurisdiction of these issues to PSC is because they have more people that can handle these kind of issues.
Right.
And they're more adept at handling them quickly.
Well, I've
So-
noticed when I call now, they have changed their whole staff. The
Yep.
woman in her office is a new woman. The lead supervisor I talked to is a new person, but she changed my bill and told me that she did the research and found pictures from January of 23 of my meter not working.
Yeah.
So,
But I believe, well, the reason we did this is we don't have any teeth as a county to go in there and make him do what he's supposed to do as far as utilities, but the PSC does. So the Public Service Commission can go in there and hammer them, and that's probably what they're starting to do. They're probably starting to get a little bit of kickback from the Public Service Commission. And the stuff you're saying right now is good to have on the record so that we have that to give to the Public Service Commission if they ask for it. I want everybody that knows anything about this or that's experiencing this to tell, because all it is they call me. Well, I don't have that recorded. This recorded now. What you said is recorded, and we know that this is happening. So I'm going to get those numbers, and I'm going to make sure you guys have them. You've got my phone number, don't you?
yes, sir.
Call me and leave your number, and I'll get it to you, and you can distribute it to those folks, or I will. It doesn't matter to me, however you want to do
But
it.
I still petition that we be able to get our own wells. I said it with Espenship, and it would just be a whole lot better, which I know in a community like that, it's a one well system.
And I don't know what the legalities of that are, but it's gotten so bad, but that I don't blame them for wanting to put in their wells.
Chair, Kevin, do we have a policy in place relevant to if they cut one of our maintained roads?
So out at Woodgate Village, which is at Pine Mountain, Burley. So in normal situations, when any utility provider, whether it's water, electrical, whatever, they send us a utility permit. If they want to open our road up, if it's an old road, I let them open cut it, patch it back. If not, I require directional drilling or repairing 50-foot paved back each side of the paved deficiency full lane width. This unique situation is they've always blamed it on, Lord, we got to get folks back water. So we turn the naked eye and says, do what you got to do with the understanding, and this goes to Commissioner Hollingsworth's comment, we're going to upgrade, I'm referring to Woodgate in particular, not only this gentleman's also, which is Woodgate is an easy example. We're not going to repave, because we all know what that costs. We're going to upgrade these systems in totality, and then we'll pave everything back when you're done. Because you don't want to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars paving for them to come back and dig the road up and repair the utility. The challenge is that's never happened. So they simply go mess and gone and just patch it back. And they were always taking a position, but you say you're going to repave everything permanently. you're correct. That's what led to the $80-some-odd-thousand problem that Commissioner Hollingsworth referred to. This went on year after year after year till the folks could hardly drive down the road. So I met with Joel. We treated it as a force account work. This went on for years. So a few months ago, we went out in-house and did everything but resurface the highway, because they've still not made the necessary upgrades that they promised to for years. So we went and spent $80-some-odd-thousand of tax dollars to repair back because they would not do it, meaning the individual company. Joel and I worked together through that. We treated it just like a hurricane. We took all our equipment, all the manpower, and Joel, somewhere around 80,000. I got too many numbers in my head. We sent them a certified letter, placing them on notice saying, you owe us $80-some-odd-thousand, or the rest will happen as it always needs to be. I'm not exactly familiar with this man's situation, but based on what I've experienced at Woodgate itself, through Commissioner Hollingsworth in particular, between water meters, patching back roads, open cutting roads, not patching back roads, it is a mess. That's why you guys turn it over to PCS. Yes.
And this, Mr. Johnson subdivision, is part of the, utilities that were owned by Scotty Esfich.
Right.
And was sold to, Florida.
Same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They originally had plans that they were going to put sleeves under all the roads so they would not have to cut roads in the future. And they just have never been.
Just never came about.
They just weren't done.
But what I'm telling you is the things you're experiencing, he's treating you bad. He's treating us just as bad. He's not. I don't think he's going to pay the money. I think it's going to go to a lawsuit because that's been told to me by some people that had a conversation with a guy. But anyhow, and I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it was said. But I just believe that he's treating you as bad as he's treating us. So, I'm gonna get you those numbers, and the Public Service Commission will be they can put some, that's probably why he has his new people, because he's having to do it legally now and not just do what he wants to do. So hopefully this will all improve. And I don't know what the law is about putting wells in. I don't know what that is as far as utilities or, but I understand why you're wanting that. And I'll discuss it with Joe and we'll find out, but it should get better now, or either he'll just quit. I don't know, one or the other. So.
Well, my concern, the roads, he gets tearing them up and.
Yeah. And I'll go out there and look at them today.
We live on a short road and you have to stop to let another neighbor by just so you can drive and not run in potholes and.
Well, I'll go down there and look at that today.
It's
Well,
just
certainly we can
frustrating.
stop them from tearing up county roads. I mean,
Yeah, we definitely can stop that.
Well, when they got a water leak,
But that's where the
they go in
leak,
there and they cut it up. But it's either them not have water or him not cut up the road. He got to cut it up to get the water to the people, but then he doesn't fix the road afterwards. That's the problem.
That's what we can stop.
Well, we're trying. We just fixed it because we thought the taxpayers deserved to have their road fixed instead of haggling with him for 5 years or whatever it's going to take. But it does need to stop. But in order for him to fix that road, he's got to cut it up. So then when he cuts it up, he just leaves it. He throws some dirt in it and leaves it.
That's why we got our attorney right there.
Right. Well, that's why we turn it over to Public Service Commission also. And we're in the process of recovering trying to recover that money. So let's just hope we can.
We'll
get on I'll get on your road as far as the potholes and all that. I'll get with the road department about that.
Thank you for coming down.
thank you for your time.
Thanks, sir.
Anyone else?
Text me the address.
Okay, public comment period is closed. Commissioner Hollingsworth, you got anything else?
No, sir. Oh, I do. I got one thing. The little signs that they're putting up everywhere, thousands of them all around town. Do we have somebody that yanks them out of the ground and tries? Have we ever tried to?
Okay.
I mean, is there anything you can do to those folks? No, those little signs, they're
just stuck in the ground.
There'll be 30, 40 on a corner.
Yeah.
And
They are absolutely prohibited by your code. The issue we run into is enforcement. Okay, so FPL doesn't want us on their power poles. Clay Electric doesn't want us on their power poles. We've had conversations with them before. Hey, can you get those down off of there? And, didn't go anywhere. I've talked to our code enforcement officers. They're happy to do it, but they also feel like they're going to get crossed up if they pull the wrong person's sign out of the ground. I told them they need to do what they need to do. Now, my proposal, and they say they're prepared to do this, and I think it's probably the right way to go. You actually have a fine for it. It's $50 per sign.
Right.
Okay? And we know how to find them because they put their phone number on the
That's right.
sign.
Exactly.
Once something's left on the right of way, it's litter. There's nothing prohibiting the county from printing up a bunch of green signs about that big on stickers that says this sign is in violation of county code such, you owe $50. Slap it on the front of every single sign. Those signs will be gone in about a week.
Yeah.
Because you're destroying their signs. And you have every right to do it. The code enforcement officers indicated to me they'd be happy to do that. I told them to come back to me with a proposal and we bring it to you guys, but, and this first I've heard a commissioner mention it. But yeah,
It's gotten ridiculous. There'll be 15 in front of my neighborhood. Just stuck up
They
willy
pick
nilly.
certain places, and again, if the property owners who live adjacent to there don't go out and yank them out of the ground, they'll put a bunch of them out of the front of my neighborhood from time to, and one of our folks goes out and just picks them up, and throws them away. But they are $50 per sign per day is the violation. And I think the issue is they've just gotten so pervasive. The city doesn't enforce. We don't enforce in state highway right-of-ways. The DOT does that. And we don't enforce in municipal right-of-ways.
My thoughts on that they might make somebody mad. That it's illegal to put them there. It just
They
is.
should not be there.
And it's a $50 fine, whatever it is. We got to start enforcing that. It's ridiculous. I counted 300 in about 5 neighborhoods when I was doing door to door. I counted 300 in about an hour.
They've gotten very pervasive.
Yeah.
Bascom Norris Road is
Everywhere.
backed up with them.
All down everywhere. You know.
You should have put 50 more.
I'll tell you a story. I had a client that she thought it'd be a good idea to do a bunch of these signs, and she put them up and down 41 and 441. About 30 minutes after she put them up, she got a call from DOT. You come get these signs right now or we're going to fine you. She went and got the signs right because they enforce. DOT is very strict about their right of way. She was putting them in the medians. That didn't go very well.
In the middle of me.
Yeah, in the middle of the roads.
I
That
see
didn't
them.
go over.
I see them on
But
county.
we just haven't, again, our code enforcement officers, we all know they're spread very thin. But the current officers you have right now will do it. They said they'll do it. I think the way to do it is, again, just for a couple $100, you can print a whole bunch of those green stickers, have them do that 2 or 3 days a month for 2 or 3 months. Problem will solve itself.
Okay, I hope.
Okay.
If it doesn't, we start,
Well, you gonna bring us something back, Joel?
The ordinance is already there. If that's an enforcement mechanism that I'm not hearing any objections to.
If it's
then I'll
just
do
a
that.
suggestion, let's do it.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, let's start pulling them up, stacking them and finding them.
And we can do that too.
Chair, when that process takes place, it's got to go before the magistrate, correct?
No. These are citations.
Who sends them? Okay, so.
These are citations. Like
Okay.
it's the fact that it's sitting there, that's the
That's good.
violation and it's directly observed. So you don't get the notice of violation or any of that kind, which is why I'm suggesting you just do the green sign.
Okay.
Just do the green sticker. If we see this, we can even have something on there. If this sign's still here 24 hours from now, we'll give you a citation so they get a fair warning. They'll start getting picked up very quickly.
Okay.
Those signs are not inexpensive.
It seems like to me they put them and forget about them.
They do.
So.
They
Yeah.
do. And so
But
some of
or
them.
if
you'll
any
end up having
more,
a
if
problem.
any more associated with this business are found, it will be, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
After a certain number of time,
Well, I'll work with the code enforcement to get
whatever
that.
we need to do.
Ms. Phillips,
No, I'm good. I got
Mr. Murphy?
Yes, sir.
I have that one item, Jolo Road. It's off of Lake Jeffrey, just this side of Baltimore bypass. It's an easement that the Carter family gave to the would be Jolo niece to build a house back there. Both of the husband and the wife is deceased. The Carters is the one that owned the easement. They want to change that road from Jolo to Carter Lane. There's no houses to be affected. It's only their house and the house in the back where they are going to sell that property since the owners have deceased now. And I'll make a motion to change that road from Jolo to, Carter and give it to the addressing so they can do so.
If I can, Mr. Chair, if we can make that subject to verification that there's no other Carter lanes in that quadrant.
Okay,
We have to make sure for 911 purposes.
okay,
But if we can make sure there's the northwest quadrant, we'd have to make sure there's no other Carter lanes up there.
okay,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if it can be subject to that verification.
okay.
I
motion?
second that.
Second by Mr. Ford. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign, that motion carries. Now, if there is a Carter, if we want to name that Billy Carter, we can do so.
We'll have David reach out to those folks if you can provide that information back to David Krause's office, David Moore, who does our addressing coordination. He knows how to do it. He'll reach out to them and say, hey, that name's not available. Is there something else you'd like? We always let the homeowners on the property
Okay.
kind of tell us what they want the road to be.
All right,
But yeah, if we find that issue, I'll let you know. And then we'll work with the property owner there to get a name they like.
okay, all right. Joe, you have anything else?
I wanted to address a couple of the issues Mr. Looker raised, and I appreciate him asking about it. First, your Bayfield mitigation credits are yours. You can use them. That was resolved about a year ago, that the DEP came back in and said, hey, that's a good bank. It's good to go. That happened when Bayfield settled with White Springs, cleared up the issue. Your credits that you paid for back in 12 or whenever it was, you got the benefit of that deal again. Those credits are going for about $110,000 now. So what you bought them for ended up being a good deal. Still got to find somewhere to use them. The other issue was Rum Island. I circulated a draft memo that I prepared before I left town about 2 weeks ago. The patent from 1965 is fairly clear about what you can and can't do. That property is subject to Bureau of Land Management regulations through the Department of Interior with the United States government. You're going to have 5 different options under the memo that I'm giving you. One of those is negotiating with the Department of Interior to just take the property back. There's also various reverters that you can trigger. Most of those relate to the Civil Rights Act. So if you were to go out there and say, hey, no women can use the park, it's going back to the federal government. We're obviously not going to do that, but that's the kind of restrictions that are in the patent. The use of the park is restricted to recreational use only. However, it also says that we are not allowed to permit any lessee of the park to engage in any discriminatory practices under the Civil Rights Act. That suggests certainly that as long as the use is the same, we could lease it to a private operator as long as they promised to abide by the terms of the patent. So our control would be making sure the use is correct and making sure they're complying with the patent. We would still have control, which is the requirement. So that's going to be an option that's available to you, along with a couple others. I had the memo pulled up here. Let's see. Well, obviously one option is just close the park. There's nothing in the patent that says you have to keep it open. It just says if you use it, it has to be for recreational uses. Privatized management is an option. We can also negotiate with the Department of Interior to lift the use restriction. That's something that they have done with other properties that they manage. They manage hundreds of properties across the country, okay, parks like this. We could also buy out the patent restrictions. We say, look, when we got it in 65, we paid them half of fair market value. You'd have to pay them the other half of that fair market value now, but with interest since 1965. So it would be very expensive. We're not going to do that, but that's an option. And then voluntary return of reversions where we just negotiate, hey, we all take this back. So those are going to be your 5 options. I'll put it on an agenda in August probably, or maybe the second in July, seeing what the agenda starts to look like. But you guys will have those options and you can sort of direct us what you'd like to see us do.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else, Joe?
No, sir. Thank you.
Anything else, staff?
Yes, sir.
Just real quick on the 911 consolidation, it's moving forward according to schedule. The week of the 8th should be when they, Smart Cop gives them the go-ahead to go ahead and start using the consolidated dispatch. They've been meeting weekly to iron out policy details that are different between LCPD and the sheriff, so that they have a consistent set of policies, and it's moving forward.
That's all you have?
Mhm.
Okay. One clean house item, Mr. Looker. I did not appreciate you coming in here late. Wait, listen about it. We having discussions and you walk before this board having discussions to put your mic and stuff up. If you don't have it up before this meeting start, you don't come, as long as I'm chair, you don't come back and do that again. Is that fair enough?
That's everybody.
Okay,
That's everybody?
that's everybody. Yes. Now, I can't say, well, I can't say, well, another chair will allow, but I'm not gonna allow that. Okay. Yes. All right, if there's nothing else, a motion for adjournment to re-enter another workshop?
Motion to adjourn.
We got a break for a
All
second.
right, all right, we got a 2-minute break.